This is our participant, Colleen. She is warming up for 5 minutes on the treadmill at a grade of 10% and a speed of 2.5. Okay, our participant's doing the standard trunk flexion. She has her shoes removed and the inside of her feet is 6 inches apart. She has her knees fully extended and her arms fully extended. She's going to reach forward, exhaling, and we'll measure her flexibility. Go ahead.
I have it at 42 centimeters.
Okay, so she is in the excellent range. So our participant's doing the back scratch test. She's going to reach around her shoulder with her right and posteriorly with her left, and we're going to measure the overlap of her middle finger.
So she's at 3.5 inches.
Okay, so 3.5 inches. She's in the low zone for females. So we're going to repeat that same back scratch test with her left side.
There's an overlap of 0.5 inches.
Okay, so for her left side, she's in the marginal zone for females according to the norms. So our participant is doing the trunk extension. She's lying prone on the floor with her hands behind her head, and she's going to lift her upper body as high as possible, maintaining a neutral cervical neck. And the measurement is in inches. Go ahead.
Nine inches.
9 inches. So for women, she is in the marginal zone. Okay, our participant is laying in a prone position. We're going to measure the range of motion in shoulder extension. So we have the axis of rotation of the goniometer on her acromion process. And the stationary arm is along her mid-axillary line. The moving arm is the lateral epicondyle. Go ahead.
50 degrees.
50 degrees. Okay, so for her left arm, 50 degrees falls in the lower range of the norms. Okay, so now we are doing the same thing for her right side and shoulder extension. Go ahead.
$55 degrees.
55 degrees falls in the middle of the normal range. So now we're going to measure shoulder flexion range of motion. So we're going to follow the same outline as shoulder extension. So this axis of rotation of the goniometer will be on the acromion process again. The stationary arm is along the mid-axillary line, and the moving arm is the lateral epicondyle. Go ahead.
$180 degrees.
Okay, so 180 degrees is within the normal range.
Yeah, do it really quick. Let's go.
And this is right side shoulder flexion. Go ahead.
$180.
Okay, 180 degrees is also within the normal range. Okay, now we're performing shoulder abduction. Our participant's in a supine position. The axis of rotation is along the anterior aspect of the acromion process, and the stationary arm is parallel to the midline of the anterior aspect of the sternum, and the moving arm is along the medial midline of the humerus. Go ahead.
A measurement is taken from the floor to the participant's chin.
182.
182 is actually above the normal range. Now we are performing shoulder abduction on the right side following the same procedure. Go ahead.
It's not the same as, yeah.
Alright, let's add those to
160.
160. So 160 is below the normal range. Okay, so now we're going to be measuring the range of motion, lateral rotation of her shoulder. So she's in a supine position. The axis of rotation is on the olecranon process, and the stationary arm is perpendicular to the floor, and the moving arm is following the ulna. The arm is abducted 90 degrees. Go ahead.
90 degrees.
Okay, 90 degrees is on the high end of the normal range. Okay, now we're doing the same thing for lateral rotation of her right arm. Go ahead.
That's 90 degrees.
Okay, and that also is the high end of the normal range. Okay, now we're doing medial rotation of the left arm. Go ahead. Okay, and that is 92 degrees is above the normal range. Okay, and lastly, we're doing medial rotation of her right arm. Go ahead.
92 degrees.
92 degrees is also above the normal range. Okay, now we're measuring the range of motion in hip flexion. So our participants in supine position. The axis of rotation is along the lateral aspect of the hip joint. The stationary arm is the lateral midline of the pelvis, and the moving arm is the lateral midline of the femur. Go ahead. 70 degrees is below the normal range. Now we are measuring the range of motion in hip flexion of her right leg. Go ahead. 80 degrees is still below the normal range. So now we're measuring the range of motion in hip extension. She's in a prone position. The axis of rotation is the lateral aspect of the hip joint. The stationary arm is the lateral midline of the pelvis, and the moving arm is the lateral midline of the femur. Go ahead. 35 degrees is above the normal range. Okay, now we're measuring hip extension of her right leg. Go ahead. 38 degrees is above the normal range. Okay, we're measuring knee flexion of her left leg. So our participant's lying supine. The axis of rotation is over the lateral epicondyle of the femur. The stationary arm is the lateral midline of the femur, and the moving arm is the lateral midline of the fibula. So as she flexes her knee, the hip will also flex. Go ahead. 130 degrees is below the normal range. Okay, we're measuring knee flexion of her right leg now. Go ahead.
You want the centimeters. 137.
137 degrees is within the normal range. So we're measuring dorsiflexion on our participant's left ankle. She's got her knee flexed and her ankle at a 90-degree angle. Her axis of rotation is over the lateral aspect of the lateral malleolus. The stationary arm is following the lateral midline of the fibula, and the moving arm is parallel to the lateral aspect of the fifth metatarsal. So go ahead.
So we're at 80, so 90 minus 80 is 10 degrees.
10 degrees dorsiflexion is lower than the average or normal range. Okay, so we're measuring dorsiflexion on our participant's right ankle now, following the same procedure. Go ahead.
Set 75, so 90 minus 75 is 15 degrees.
15 degrees dorsiflexion is lower than the normal range.